Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Human Empowerment Experience. It is a kettlebell training workout with RKC certified kettlebell trainer Sensei David Hills.
Coach Kendra McLaughlin. We're back.
We're back! Woo! So excited. So we were on vacation last week. We weren't on vacation yesterday.
No,
we were actually working yesterday. But I had kind of an injured shoulder, so I haven't worked out in 2 weeks, giving my shoulder a rest. And then we went to California from Maine last week for a whole week to visit my daughter. And it was, did we have an amazing time or
awesome.
what?
Awesome time.
Just a really great vacation and some time off. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit about those of us who are focused and are heading towards a goal and we're working hard. Don't forget to take some time off. Don't forget to give your body a rest, give your mind a rest. You should actually be doing that every day. So if you find yourself working really hard all day long, take some time to walk in nature. I find myself drifting back to the times that we were in nature last week. We were in the mountains of California. We were in the redwood forest. And we're all connected. Nature, animals, humans, we're all connected in this complicated connection. And I literally could feel it, and I brought that home with me. So I find myself really wanting to get back out into nature. We should do that today. It's raining, but it doesn't matter if it's. I love the rain, actually.
Where was that place we were? In the mountains?
Humboldt.
Oh, right.
Humboldt, California. In the mountains, in a cabin in the woods.
It was pretty epic, actually.
It was amazing. It was so beautiful. And we take for granted here in our state how much rain we get. They get no rain. So it rained overnight, and people were just
everybody was super
excited
that it rained. We were like,
it wasn't even raining.
But apparently it was the first rain they've had in months and months. So
we did see some scorched areas while we were up there.
A lot of scorched earth.
A lot of mountainsides that had been burned. We saw burnt out cars, things like that. So, we coming home to our estate, which is lush and green, and we get plenty of water, and we have lots of bodies of water here. I tend to take that for granted, honestly.
Yeah, everybody was hyper vigilant about any kind of heat source. Fire. Because they got to be, anything can start it going.
Such a dry, crisp area. But anyway, we are back this morning, and so happy to have you here with us. And what will we be working on? I'm using a little tiny kettlebell because I don't want to re-injure my shoulder, and I'm getting back into things.
So we're just going to work on a couple of things to rehab the shoulder, coincidentally.
Oh,
so kettlebell training really is one of the only really appropriate shoulder workouts. They use the rotator cuff muscles appropriately, and if you do these correctly, you will strengthen your shoulders. If you do them incorrectly, you will injure your shoulders. That's just the way it goes. This is important to make sure that you do it right. So we're going to go over a little bit of a piece of the puzzle today that I've explained before. We're going to do it again, and it's the half get up. And now the reason why I bring this up, or what I want to bring up with regard to this is an analogy that I teach people when I teach them about the shoulder. I like to explain it like this. In Japan, they've got these sophisticated, intelligent buildings. They're computerized buildings. And what it is it's to keep make the buildings earthquake proof. See, they've got a big problem with it. Imagine this, if you will. Building is standing, right? Well, the ground starts moving underneath the building, right? And creating creating a situation. If the ground moves, the building moves with it, right? Well, imagine if you had in the base of the building these giant pistons, such that when the building started to move, you could correct it by changing the way that the building is connected to the ground by the movement of those giant pistons. So what they do is they have those pistons connected to seismographic equipment, and it reads the movement of the earth under the building and adjust it to keep the building straight up and down while the ground moves underneath it. That's pretty hot. But now what you have to realize is that this is an analogy for the way that the shoulder works. If my arm is the building straight up and I start to move the ground underneath it, in order to keep the building straight up and down, it has to be compensated for by these pistons, which are the little rotator cuff muscles. So what we're going to do is we're going to be down on the ground. We're going to be down on the ground, building straight up and down. As I move, if the movement of my body is analogous to the movement of the earth, that rotator cuff or those rotator cuff muscles need to support the arm in such a way that all the muscles are engaged. But as I move, this one has to open and this one has to fire to keep it, to maintain its plumb position. As I move through the rest of them, through the rest of the movements of the getup, these muscles need to compensate and change position. So this is what we're going to do. I can have a small kettlebell. Which one? The little one. Here. Halfway between my hip and shoulder, I pick the kettlebell up. 2 hands to press it to the ceiling. Make sure it's seated. And all I'm going to do is come up 1, 2, 3, and back. This exercise alone will strengthen the shoulder. Now you can continue to this position and back down, but it's not necessary. You can just come up to the first position and back down. That movement is going to strengthen the rotator cuff. So we're going to have Miss Kendra come on down here and do it.
I need to warm up it off.
Nope,
Okay.
This is the warm-up.
So today we're basically rehabbing my shoulder that I injured. It was my left shoulder. So that's what we're working on today. So for those of you who have injured your shoulder or have an injury, this is something that you're going to want to watch and try out for yourself. Down and grabbing my kettlebell, putting it towards me, rolling both hands up straight.
And you want to watch, make sure your wrist is straight, your elbows locked, your shoulder is seated.
And then this leg goes down.
Hand, right, and back down. And your goal is to focus on that shoulder, keeping it solid. Now you also have to make sure that the other shoulder, the far shoulder, is seated as well, because one shoulder is carrying the kettlebell, the other shoulder is carrying the kettlebell plus your body. So it's the kettlebell on the ground. It is, so this, you want to straighten this all the way and make sure this shoulder is seated as well. Right? So that's not.
How do you?
So watch this.
How do you seat this shoulder?
Bring your kettlebell back down. Set it down. So this shoulder, the bottom one, you want to make sure it's seated.
Like this.
Yeah. And you'll look at it and you'll go, oh, wait a minute, that's not in position. Most of our consciousness goes to the shoulder that has the kettlebell in it, but it's actually
actually the other shoulder that has more stresses being put on it because it's carrying the kettlebell plus your body.
So basically, my shoulder moved into a place that it shouldn't have been to try to compensate for what I was.
Exactly.
Okay, let's see if we can do this again. So I'm pulling the kettlebell to me.
Mm-hmm.
And both hands up.
Yep. So here's where you want to do it. Here's where you want to see the shoulder, bring your consciousness to it, and this shoulder. Yeah. And this is where if you come up to the plank position, right, lifting your hips up off the ground. See,
I want to move my arm.
right. Now you'll really feel that shoulder has to keep everything up in the air. Push into that leg to roll towards you. Yeah, that's what starts the motion. Now you're talking.
My shoulder isn't sore, but it's definitely, I can tell the connective tissues.
Yes.
Weaker than what they.
Good. Now bring it in. Let's bring that to the other side. Good.
Here like that.
No, you were good.
Okay.
I'm glad that you're feeling it. Now this time you're going to come all the way up to the plank position. Shoulder, elbow, hand. 1, 2, 3. Lift. And nice. And come back. Good. And good.
Now, like Kendra was talking about earlier, rest is incredibly important, particularly if you've got an injury. It's a good idea to every week, and this is what we do. We train Monday through Friday, and we take Saturday and Sunday off. Sometimes on Saturday, we'll do a little bit extra stuff, but for the most part, we're taking the full weekend off to let the body recoup and recover. That being said, sometimes you'll want to take an entire week off.
Yeah.
A couple of times a year, whether injury or not. If you have an injury, that's a great time to let the whole body recuperate. But even if you don't have an injury, it's sometimes very good to let your body completely recover.
Yeah, I just have a couple of words about that.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I struggle with, because I've been working out for a few years and I'm an very active person, I struggle with the fact that, okay, if I take a week off, my body's going to go to hell.
Nope.
I remember telling David, I'd be in the bath and I'm like, look, my body's not going to hell. I'm taking 2 weeks off, but I'm still look the same as I did 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're struggling with that,
Let it go.
It's a part of your mindset. It's part of the mind game that you're playing with yourself. A lot of people don't take time off from workouts because they feel like they're going to go backwards, when in fact, you're actually going to go forward because you're letting your body heal a bit. The other point I have to make is, for those of you who are taking time off, sometimes it's hard for people to get restarted, right? Mm-hmm. For me, it's the opposite. After I've taken some time off, I'm super excited to get back into it. I was so excited I got up at 4:30 this morning. We haven't been on live for a week or so because of our Wi-Fi issue when we're in California, but I was just super excited. But there are people that are afraid to take time off because they have a hard time getting going. So if you need help with that, if you want to take a few days off, but you can't seem to get back into the swing of things, you can private message me. I can help you with your mindset on that as well, because that is an issue. For me, it's exciting to get back into it, but for a lot of people, once you break that habit that you've made, sometimes it's just hard to get reestablished back into the habit. Now, let's see who we have here with us this morning. We have Andy and Kevin. Good to see you guys. And I know Kevin is he's a bodybuilder. He's actually does competition. And so he's very dedicated. So he's a lot like me in that we're just dedicated and persistent, and he probably doesn't have that problem, but some of you do.
Okay, so we're going to do one more exercise for the benefit of Kendra's shoulder before we get really doing much anything else. And that is, you're going to stand in a long forward lunging stance, and you're going to rest your elbow on your knee, like in the position we do when we do our rows. But what we're going to do is this. We're going to take a nice light kettlebell. We're going to put it in your hand. We're going to seat the shoulder, in this case, the one that's injured. And we're going to make a circle about 1 foot in diameter with the kettlebell. Now, I want you to pay particular attention. You can bring it down close to the floor. Find that position of seating the shoulder, right? Use a very light kettlebell. Make sure it's seated. You're going to go 5 rotations in one direction, and then you're going to reverse it and go 5 rotations in the other direction.
So I have a question.
Yep.
When you're doing the injured shoulder, should you do the same thing on the non-injured shoulder?
Yeah.
Or
yeah, you
does it
can.
matter?
Absolutely. Because really what you're trying to get to here, this isn't working the muscle out. This is activating it. You want to try and get all of the muscles of the rotator cuff seamlessly firing in order, like what did I say? It's like a distributor cap. If any of you guys are old enough to know what a freaking distributor cap is, right? All right. Try.
Okay. So I'm gonna go with this.
Yep, nice long stand. And now, before you even pick it up, practice seating the shoulder and then unseating it. Grab your hand on the kettlebell, seat it, and then pick it up. Right? Yep. Yeah. Right, now keep it fired nice and tight. There it is. And now make your rotations, make it bigger. Bigger than that? Yeah. That'll work out.
This works the connective tissue.
This works the firing sequence of those muscles, making sure that all 5. So right now,
Actually feels good.
you look at me. You've got this going on.
Okay. So what do I do?
Keep it still and just make the rotation
This
of
here?
the arm. Yeah. So you want to think about the shoulder blade staying still and bigger movement. Yeah. A little bigger. Right. Feel a little bump.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly at the top up here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's what you want to do. This is about bringing your awareness to what's happening. It's not about trying to work it out, trying to exhaust the muscle or make it grow or anything like that. That's not what we're doing here. What we're doing is practicing getting the shoulder seated and making sure the muscles fire in an appropriate fashion.
And here's a perfect example of when you're doing things, it's great to have a coach. Mm-hmm. David is Russian kettlebell certified, and so he knows what he's talking about. So when as you saw, I was making the movement and doing it incorrectly. And if he wasn't here coaching me, I would have been doing it correctly the whole time. Right. So, you can either video yourself, you can send it to us. We would be more than happy to take a look at your form if you'd like, or if you have someone near you or with you that can kind of take a look at your form as well. But it's great to have a coach or someone that can do that with
It's
you.
a good idea.
Okay.
All right. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to keep an eye on you, and we're gonna do a couple of these things. So we're going to go ahead and do some swings, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to make sure that the shoulder is seated. We're going to do this with 2 hands this time, both shoulders seated, and make sure the action happens from the hip.
Can I do?
Yeah, I would go up a little bit higher than that. So let's do an 8 kilogram would be good. All right. So feet wide, slightly pointed, toes slightly pointed out, right? Everted. A little bit too far. More. Yeah, right. Fold at the hips. Keep your back straight. Reach down. Grab the kettlebell handle with 2 shoulders seated. And let's do 20 swings. Focus your mind on making the action happen at the hip. Pushing the hip forward. Nice. Keep the shoulders seated the entire time. Now, snap your hips a little harder and bring it up about the height of between your chest and your chin. Yeah. You know how that comes up a little bit higher? Right. Once the hips stop moving, the kettlebell should continue for a little bit further travel.
I'm like almost 50.
Very nice. Okay, so what we're going to work on next is lockout position. Lockout position is really going to challenge whether or not you have the full range of motion. So the way it works with kettlebell, and this is with any exercise, there really can't be any pain while you're doing it. The first thing you have to do when it comes to injury recovery or any exercise, really, if there's pain to perform the exercise, then there's an injury and you need to stop. You need to go down to some preliminary exercises, or go down to a much, much lighter kettlebell, whatever you need to do to make it so that the pain doesn't happen. And like I said, if there's pain, don't do the exercise. Set it aside. Do work without a kettlebell until you can make the motion without pain. Once there's no pain, then you have to check range of motion, because there's no sense in, even if the injury is recovering, if you don't have good range of motion, then there's no reason why you would put it under load, under heavy resistance. So first, no pain. Second, complete range of motion. Third, add the resistance. So we've determined that there's no pain to do the exercise.
Yeah.
Now, if you do full lockout position, that's going to test your range of motion. So
And I'm going to use the baby.
going back down to the small kettlebell, we're going to do swing to the rack. So go to a one-handed swing. Okay. There it is. And then swing the kettlebell to the rack position. Good. Against you. I'm going to adjust it a little bit. And now you're going to do a press overhead. You can do this with or without the hips. Good. Excellent. And so we have nice elbow is straight, wrist is locked, shoulder is seated. Now turn to the side so folks can see. Nice. Nice and vertical, even when she's turned profile. Right? Come on back facing the front. Good. Return to a rack position.
It's a little sensitive.
Yeah. Change hands. Good. Now work the wrist. Shoulder, elbow, nice and tight. Press overhead. Nice. The bicep should touch the ear. right? And now the last thing you want to work on is getting the shoulders, right? Yeah, that's good. Nice and level. It's very difficult. A lot of times the shoulder's gonna be elevated. Getting them level, that's sort of like the last piece when it comes to this. Once
Yeah,
you've
I
gotten
had to
everything
shift, I
else.
had to move them, I could feel it.
Yeah. All right, pull it back in. Do one more on each side. Level it. Excellent. Good. It's always good to work both sides in balance. The body's not symmetrical. It's never going to be perfectly symmetrical, but it's definitely something to strive for. Much more important to have proper form than it is to do this under load.
Especially recovering from an injury. It is sensitive. I can feel it. But it's not painful. It's just, you can feel it. It's working. It's trying to work.
Good, good. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to move away from working on the shoulder. I'm going to put this small one aside. And actually, no. We're going to go back. We're going to do this one. We're going to work on that same position, the lockout position, but we're going to work on a lunge. So we're going to work on an overhead lunge, because that's what that's going to do, is it's going to keep that stable position with it straight overhead, challenge it a little bit more by coming forward in a lunge. It's going to want to come forward, so this is going to require you to pull it back a little bit more. Go to your press position, stepping to the opposite leg. Too far. Too far. Right.
Yeah, that's hard. That's hard.
Yep. Step even less.
Okay. That's hard for me because my legs are long.
Yep.
So I want to automatically.
Yep. You're gonna want to feel it. It's gonna feel like you want to step further, but you don't. You want to step. There it is. Nice. Now go straight down. Yes. You might have been able to start a hair longer.
Yeah. Okay. That's the thing.
Go to the other side.
Legs.
It's a little bit. It takes a little bit of practice to find. Work on the details of the position. As you go down, if you want to change, your mind is going to want to start residing in your legs because you're doing of this lunge. If you have to keep your mind in your shoulders, or at least part of it. So let's start with bend. Yeah, very good, very good. There's so many details to think about in the body. What we have to do is we have to think about it so that eventually we don't have to think about it. You have to burn in the neurological pathways to make these exercises work so that you can then focus on other things. Very good, very good.
Cool.
All right.
You see who's on your Facebook. We have. Hey, Sarah. So good to see you here with us today. We have Art. Now, Art, Thank you so much for joining us. I've seen your lives recently, Sarah. Fantastic. And she's such a great artist.
Oh, nice.
She drew a really awesome picture of Master Shri. That was amazing.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah,
I saw
she's
that.
a very, very talented artist
Very nice.
and inspirational person.
Okay, let's just do one more exercise and we will wrap up for today. Is there any particular exercise that you miss doing? Some of them we can do, some of them we can't.
Well, I think for me, it's just doing big swings.
Yep.
And it's because I haven't worked my shoulder in 2 weeks.
So let's not go with a heavy kettlebell. Let's go with the light one. And now, what I'd like you to do is alternating single arm swing.
Okay.
So you can start with 2 hands, shift to 1. Right. And now work on bringing the handle straight up and down at the top.
Oops.
I didn't bring that down. So, so what I want you to work on is
What am I doing wrong?
the thumb goes back at the bottom
Okay.
and goes up at the top, so that this motion, this rotation is happening with each swing. You have thumb up at the top.
Thumb up
So, yeah, so thumb down at the bottom,
Okay, yeah.
thumb up at the top. So that you're rotating the kettlebell during your swing. That's excellent. And then, so remember, they're both thumbs up at the top when you change hands. There it is. Aha!
Aha!
That's it. You got it. There we go. Nice. Now we're talking. And now bring your mind into the shoulder so that you're securely seating your shoulder on each swing.
I'm gonna start right from the
Mm-hmm.
little.
Very nice. And bring it to a rest.
How you do anything is how you do everything. So if your form is good,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna do everything with good form. Whew, wow. Thank you guys so much for joining us this morning. So happy to have all of you here with us today. The Human Empowerment Experience, we are here to empower you to live your best life, to live a life of passion, to live a life of purpose, to do what you want to do in your life. Everybody has a gift to give others, and we are giving this gift at 6 a.m. Monday through Friday Eastern Standard Time. So you'll see us here every morning at 6 a.m. We do an inspirational moment, and then we do a kettlebell workout. So if you haven't gotten your kettlebell, go ahead and get that and get started with us either tomorrow morning, or we'll start fresh next Monday. And for those of you who are in the older set, join us. It's the best thing. The kettlebell workout is so amazing. You don't have to be older. You can do it as a younger person, but I want to encourage people that are our age. I'm 58, David is 52, to get out there, to get active, to keep your body in good shape, to eat good whole foods. We ate so good this week. My daughter and son-in-law own an organic fruit and vegetable farm and a goat farm, and we had the most fantastic food. I ate a lot of food, but it was all healthy and all organic, and it was amazing.
Even when we went out to eat, it was stuff from their farm.
Yeah, yes. They live in Nevada City, California, and have this amazing dish of, whatever. And a lot of it comes from my daughter's farm and son-in-law. And they're very hard farmers, very hard workers, no-till farmers to try to save the land, and it's just amazing what they're doing there, creating this abundance for their community, and we were able to take part in that. So take care of yourselves. We are sending you love, joy, peace, and happiness. Sending out some healing energies to those of you in the world who are suffering today, hoping that you get some peace in your lives for a few moments today or for the rest of your life. But we are here to help you. If you have any questions, go ahead and private message either Sensei David Hills or myself. And we will see you here tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. for kettlebell training and some inspirational motivation as such. So have a great day, guys.
Have a great day.
Love you.